fully staffed committee. We need committee folks. We
Yes.
need volunteers. Absolutely.
On April 20th. I'm hoping to see y'all there,
Yes.
right? Because based on how many people show up is how strong our bargaining team is. I'm Kristen Luevanos. I am your current vice president. I am Kristen Luevanos.
Compton Education Association. I am Porscher Lowe, your current union president, and I have been in position since July 2025. Before that, not the year before, but the year preceding that one, I was a union rep, have been a rep for about 13 years. Also, past PAC chair, our political action committee chair, worked in organizing and just all kind of various different roles in volunteering for 15 years now. Yeah,
It's been a while.
it's been a while.
Um, so
Yes.
after we did our introductions, is what does your work look like as president? What does your normal day?
A normal day. So it's busy. It is busy. It is a hard job. I know you know. And so because I am in the classroom currently teaching still my regular job, I teach ELD at Centennial. The majority of time that I can spend is after school and in the evenings and on weekends doing union work. So after my day ends, usually I'll head over to the office Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. Thursdays are my release day for site visits, but in the afternoons, I'm in the office and catch up on emails, catch up on phone calls um, as a routine. Often I am called if it's an emergency or something needs to be addressed quickly from my classroom duty, depending. Um, and so I also meet with our regional center, our southeastern center, to work with other locals. I do work with CTA, depending on the conference or the meeting. Working more at large with the state and other locals across the state, so regional, statewide. Um, I serve on bargaining right now as a part of the bargaining committee. I was there for the last two regular sessions and have been in mediation sessions. And of course, all the after school actions, uh, school board meetings, and just a variety of work surrounding, union action, um, union stuff.
How long is your day?
My my typically 5:36 to about 10:30, 11 now.
At
It's a
night.
long day. Yeah.
So 5:30, didn't mean to cut you off.
Okay.
5:36 to about 10:30 at night.
10:30 at night. Yes.
Yeah.
A long, long
Hmm.
days. Yep.
Yes.
So,
Very long days. And you're still teaching in your
yes.
classroom every day but Thursday. So you have to create a lesson plan
Lesson
and make sure
plans.
your kids are ready for Thursday. As teachers, we all know sometimes we go in sick because it's easier to be sick than create plans for subs, right?
Right.
And you're doing that every week as well.
Yes, 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 yes. So, lesson planning, meeting with my specialist because, I still have testing grades. We still do LPAC, so there's testing. We just finished our testing, so it's a huge load. It's a huge load. I have to say that I very much appreciate you and all of our past presidents and past union leadership folks because it's never ending. It's nonstop, especially, for the most part, we've had folks in the classroom still teaching. So, yes.
Hmm. Yeah.
Mhm.
I was lucky enough to get support from CTA for release.
Mhm.
Um, they saw that as a need because we had just recalled a president. And so they saw that as a need, but that is no longer available. So we only get 20% release, which is that one day a week. And I did that my last year, and that was hard, but I had a lot easier schedule than you did. being
Yes.
that I was in alternative ed. And so it was just a little easier. So I look at you and all that you're doing. And yeah, members may feel like they're not getting as many emails as I used to send,
Oh,
but I realize that like you have a way heavier load than I ever did. And if members want emails, we need members to step up and help,
it would be
right?
great to have a comms
Yep.
committee, communications committee, fully staffed committee. We need committee folks. We
Yeah.
need volunteers, absolutely. And can I just speak to that too? Because that's some
Yeah.
feedback that I've received. Um, so, and I do think we communicate as necessary. I do want to give, a huge shout out to our organizing team, Mr. Cantu. I see those messages go out. I see the hustle messages. I'll routinely share a member-wide message is needed, which we have a couple that are going out. But also, um, you know, um, one of the things that I feel like has been an issue is figuring out how much to communicate, right? Sometimes if you
Hmm.
over communicate, people get confused, and then if you under communicate, people feel like they don't know what's going on. So we are trying to find that sort of right balance. I will say I have shared messages that people say, "Oh, I didn't read that. I didn't get it."
Yeah.
So we just want to make
Yeah.
sure, like, how do we inform you enough to inform you that you should make it a routine practice, just to check your email, check the CEA website. We're working on, always how to change things, how to be most effective and efficient. And so, again, we appreciate the feedback and we do take into consideration. And again, it's just finding that right balance in terms of communication. So,
It is. And one of the things I really like working with you is you and I can disagree. And we've even disagreed. After an action, I was like, you need to send a message. And what I learned through that and you and our conversation was you actually ended up sending a message like the next week due to something else. And your message was a lot clearer. And it was a better message. And so, there's times where we disagree, and that is okay. Right,
yes.
and we have that conversation and we come to a solution, and I think that's huge and that's very important.
Yes.
But I do appreciate your communications because I feel like since they are done not in haste because there's a feeling that it must go out, you really take your time to make sure that it is clear and concise. So I
Oh,
appreciate
thank
that.
you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And that's one of the things too that I want to say about this work that we all, try to do, coming from our particular set of experiences is try to be strategic. Also with union work is strategy. And then sometimes it gets emotional, right? Because we're teachers, this is hard work. But we're dealing with union work, you have to sometimes put that aside to figure out how you need to use it, right? So the emotion is there, the passion is there. You know what I mean? We don't want it to get lost in the sauce, right? We want to make sure
Right.
that we have a plan and we're very clear about our ask and that we're doing the things that are going to get us, the help, the support, the change that we need. So
Right.
it takes strategy. So one of the
Yeah.
things that was shared with me years ago is move with strategy, not emotion. And so I've been trying to
Yeah.
adhere to that one.
Yes. Um, and the last thing I wanted to sort of say about working with you before we move on to what we wish our members would understand, is that one thing that I noticed with working with you for many years is you are a listener first. You listen, you think things through, and then you're strategic about what you say and what you do. Right. And so a lot of people are like, she's quiet. And I'm like, no, she's not quiet. She's listening. Right.
Yes.
And because in union space, so many times people are talking, talking, talking. Right.
Mhm.
And it's really nice to just see you and you listen and you are actively listening and you are hearing each concern, frustration, even each celebration. So that is one thing that when you see Porsche Lowe, um, quiet, it's because she's listening. That is one thing that
Yes.
if yes, she is listening. Okay, so now going on to what is one thing you wish members truly understood?
So one of the things that, and this comes up a lot in the feedback, a lot of the messages that I get, a lot of texts I get, you get, right? People coming in, is that like I mentioned about the strategy, union work is union work. The point of a union, especially a teachers union, is to have a system, a vehicle where you can organize to make change. So the union works it takes organization, it takes participation, and that's how you can influence and demand ultimately, right? The most extreme part of the union work, we always talk about strike, are we going to strike, being strike ready, is to influence or demand change, right? So it is not passive work. It is active work. You have to be involved. You have to show up. You have to speak up. You have to use your voice. You cannot passively sit around, and it's any district. Obviously, we work in Compton Unified, but that's in any district. You cannot sit around. It is not created to sit around and wait for the district to just hand you what you want. Because
Yep.
imagine if that was a reality, we wouldn't even be on this video, right? But the reality is that it takes what it takes. And that is the same no matter if it's in Compton, if it's in Long Beach, if it's in LA, if it's in Stockton, if it's in Oakland, if it's in San Francisco. It takes what it takes from everybody. The work, the expectation for the work does not change because we are in CUSD. And that's what I want our members to really understand. Okay, so when they say, well, why do we have to wear a shirt? Or why do we have to show up to the board meeting? Or why do we have to? Well, because that's part of the organization. Those are part of the steps it takes to show the district that you are willing to use this vehicle to get what you need.
Hmm.
So yeah, but I also like to
Amazing.
ask from your perspective, right, as a union lead and a past president, what would you say?
I would say the same thing. Really, is it takes work. The best analogy I ever heard was your union is like a gym membership. You pay your dues, but if you don't show up at the gym and do the work, you're not going to see the benefit of your dues. And so, if members aren't doing at least one union thing a month, I would say at minimum, then they are not doing the work to get the association that they want. And so often I hear, well, Paramount gets this or LA gets this, and it's not that their associations are big. We currently have an association of
Right,
200 members down the street from us, Little Lake. It's by Santa Fe Springs, and they're going into fact finding, and they have a little less than 200 members. But when their president asked them to show up to a school board meeting, they had 95% of their membership show up,
right,
right? And they have less of a budget than we do because they have less members, right?
right,
And so we have to realize it's not about the size. That has nothing to do with it. It's about how many members show up to actions.
right.
And how many participate. So wearing the shirts, people are like, well, the shirt, we keep doing that, nothing's happening. Well, we don't have a majority of members wearing shirts.
Mhm.
That's the key. And we're going to talk about that a little later with the history of CEA. But people are so quick to say, oh, that's not going to work without even trying it.
Right.
And in my history in Compton, I started working here in 2008. I have never seen even a simple majority of our association. 51% show up and do an action. And even that change would be dramatic. And
Right.
the district would take note. They would have to, and that's the point. Is we sit there and we go, oh, the district's going to do what they want. No, not if we force them not to. And that's what union work is. But it takes people showing up.
Right.
It takes people doing when we ask. Yes, LA is asking for a certain percent in raises, and are they going to get it? Probably close. But
Mhm.
when their president says show up, they show up. When their president says, wear your shirt, they wear their shirt, right? And so that is the culture here in Compton. We don't have that. That's the reality. And one of the things we have to do is start holding each other accountable. For instance, I walk into my neighbor's classroom not wearing a shirt. Where's your shirt? Why don't you
Right.
have it on? It may sound rude, but it's like just a reminder, you're going to get what you fight for. And that
Yes.
should be the message. You are
Yes.
going to get what you fight for. If you are not fighting, you will not get it.
Yep.
And that, I think that's my major point is we go into spaces and we fight, right? I know I went into many meetings and I fought for things.
Right.
Didn't end up happening because they knew I members wouldn't act, right?
Right.
And that was the key. It's not that we're not asking. It's not that we're not bringing up how ridiculous things are. It's not that we're constantly talking to the district about how much testing we do. Those conversations are being had, but when we ask y'all to show up at school board meetings to discuss how much testing is going on, we get 20 people,
We get
over
20 people.
800 members. And it's like, we
And
can't do anything with that. The school board looks and goes, "Oh, this isn't that important,"
yes.
and that's the key, I think. And so, leading now, because again, I think y'all, as members, if you're watching this, you will see a theme here. Um, so, what Lowe? Next, our next question is, what can we bargain in our contract? What
We
can we
can
bargain for?
We can bargain salary. We can bargain for health care. We can bargain for, someone mentioned, and we talked about that, the COLA formula automatically into the contract, or well, having it, getting it automatically and having that in our contract. Someone asked, so can we do that? You can, if you fight for it. Another big issue that we're having, our sped folks are working so hard, and they're so overworked. So hard caps on sped caseloads, even though that under ed code there are, under ed code they have, an average, but there are some locals that do have hard caps in their contract. They fought for it, so we can bargain many things, right? Bargain for them, right? Ask if members, we survey members to see, what their interests are, what things need to change in the contract, and we can bargain for those things. But again, to your point, they'll see. I think it takes you fighting for it. It takes you showing strength and solidarity and a determination, a collective determination to get it done and get it put in there.
Yep. I would agree with that. So I always tell people if you wanted to bargain that the district had to provide donuts every morning, we could.
Yes.
Like you can bargain anything and everything into the contract, but it's not about that. It's about what are we willing to fight for and show up for.
Yes.
So people ask, well, have you showed the district what other districts get? Yes, they know.
Yes.
They have that information. Um, do you mention that we're having to deal with this, that, and the other? Yes, they know. Like,
They know.
it's interesting because I get texts from people and like, well, can you share this at the bargaining table? And I text back, yeah, we shared that. Like, it's
Mhm.
already been shared, and that's why we have a lot of people at the not. We want to have more people at the table. I think that's a goal for Lowe and I is to really expand our bargaining team in the future years. But it's also it's not about who we have at the table necessarily. It's about who shows up to
Mhm.
actions and what the
Mhm.
district is seeing us do, right?
And
Is it that important for us? And another thing is like, well, why does it always have to be a fight? It's always going to be a
no,
fight.
it
I
shouldn't.
hate to say that. I know people think Paramount just gets what they want. Well, they're gearing up for a fight because they're because members have become sort of apathetic in a sense because they've been handed things because they fought, they got strong, they got things, and there was that relationship when the union showed up, the district listened. But after 10, 15 years, that has slowed, right?
So
And so now they're having to fight again. And so it always happens. And it reminds me of what Frederick Douglass said, power will not give out power without a fight, right?
mhm,
It
mhm.
never has and it never will. It just
It never,
won't.
it
And
never
so
will.
as employees, unless you are the employer, as employees, there's always that power dynamic. And in order to get what we want, there has to be a fight. Um, and I think that leads us into, and I want to say with healthcare, could we fight for fully funded healthcare? Yes, but we would have to fight for it.
Mhm.
We would
Well,
have to fight for it. Yeah.
and one of the things too, when you talk about the fight, right? So of course, showing up to actions, but even voicing your concerns. We have the benefit of being in a smaller, more familiar district. You see your leaders all the time. It is not huge like a LAUSD and UTLA, right? You see your folks, you can ask them, you can tell them, you can use your influence there, right? Don't be afraid to speak up and share what you need to have changed, because when people hear you, there's influence there, right? So there's influence. Who can influence change? Right? Who are the decision makers? Right? Talk to those people. And so that's another thing that I feel like we're not utilizing, is that how we are as a district, and being in such close proximity to the people that make decisions. Talk to them, let them know, voice your concerns. Don't feel, I mean, I shouldn't say don't feel like that. I know that sometimes, members feel afraid to speak up. That also needs to change. We can't be afraid any longer. I get it. Folks will side eye you, or, you know what I mean, might feel, put on, you know, I don't, I'm sorry. It's still I got up early this morning. But we have to be stronger also in how we feel, like what we deserve. You deserve what you
Right.
deserve. You shouldn't feel,
Right.
any reservation or hesitation by speaking up about what you
Yeah.
want and the things that you need to see changed in the district. So
Yeah.
that's a big part of it too. So there's
Yeah.
collective action, and then there's, your own individual opportunity, to share your concerns with other leaders. So I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I wanted to say that.
No, no.
Out.
Yeah, definitely. And like for instance, one of my things is whenever an administrator gives me a new task, I look at them and I say, "Okay, what are you taking away?
Mhm, mhm, mhm,
I don't
mhm.
have any more time in the day. What are you
Right.
taking away?" And then, sometimes they go, "Well, you need to figure it out." No, I'm not going to figure it out. There's no way to figure it out. I
Correct.
cannot add more time in the day. So you need to tell me what I don't have to do in my list of
All
things
the
I need to
things.
get done, right? Or you ask them, then do you want me not to be actively teaching during the period? Do you want me sitting at my desk finishing this stuff? Because again, I don't know when you want me to finish these things, right? And so I think it's really pushing back because they keep piling work on us, and they'll keep doing it until we say no, right? Or
Mhm,
until things don't get done. And that really leads me to our next thing is what does fighting really mean? And I'm going to add to this, although you're not prepared for this little part of the question, but based on what you previously just said about the being scared, what does fighting really mean in a union, in a local, and in actions like this? And what role does fear play in
mhm.
that?
So fighting means, um, in context, right, is showing your strength. So we do that collectively, and in solidarity, making sure that the district understands how far we're willing to go, to see change, to see those things, shifted in our contract language, so on and so forth. I and I know you know, and most of us who are in leadership, who are site reps, or who even unofficially, those go-to people in our workspaces where people, seek us out to get help and guidance. Fear is a huge issue, and that is the one thing that I feel like really keeps us. It's participation, right? But I feel like a lot of the disengagement comes from fear, right? In the larger actions, more extreme things, and we know that fear gets you nowhere, right? So the fight means that you do it in spite of your fear, right? So you show up anyway. So it's understandable that people get scared. We know that the district has a history of being retaliatory. There's a lot of vindictive people for no reason.
We
I
just
see.
won we just won the ULP because of the retaliatory actions.
Right.
Um, and I will say we have a few on the pipeline that we are,
Right.
there's a
Right.
lot. There's a lot. So
There's
yes, sorry.
yes. But when you work together and you stand strong together, that should help to ease a lot of fear, right? It's easier to face, a monster, quote unquote. You know what I mean? Altogether than it is alone, right? So that just makes
Mhm.
sense. But also, there is a system to help protect you from that. It might feel uncomfortable in the meantime. You know what I mean? While you're going through the steps of remedying, whatever harm is being caused. But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it, and I don't think that fear should hold us back in the way that it has been doing. That it's a
Yeah.
huge issue. People often say, "Well, I'm having this issue." Okay, well, how can we need to have a meeting? You know what I mean? Let's see how we can resolve it. Oh no, but I don't want anybody to know it's me. Well, there's no way that we can really help. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep.
So I was
Right.
with a group of folks from another local last week, and that's one of the things that their president said is that we don't fight under anonymity. So you're willing to step up, you know what I mean, make your case, and
Right.
let's try to fix
Right.
it. Otherwise, there isn't anything that we're going to do. We don't do that. And I was like,
Right.
oh my gosh, you know what I mean? That's really powerful, right? Because
Yeah.
it's true. There have been times where I've tried to honestly, step in on behalf of someone and help, um, because I know they were afraid, and I was told, oh, that's your concern. If the person really had a concern, they would come and they would share, they would say something, and it's like, oh, they're not going to.
Yeah.
So it really does hinder progress. This fear,
Yep.
this overwhelming fear that
Yep.
people have.
So let's name it, right? Because this was also your ULP. And so I want to take it through because, again, this is what fighting really means, right?
Yeah.
I would always get yeah, I'll have the meeting if you can guarantee that there won't be, I don't want any retaliation. We can't guarantee that. Like,
No.
um, what we can do is provide an avenue for rectifying any harm, right? And you went through that process. It took about 2 years.
For two
So it's
years, yes.
not a quick process. It's not a quick process. But in the end, you were offered to go back to where you were retaliatorily transferred from.
Yes, I was. Uh-huh.
Um, you chose not to, right, because of the work you had done at your current site. Um, but there was an avenue for you to get to that, and it was stressful.
It
It wasn't
was.
easy, right? And so I want you to just sort of quickly share about that because that is fighting. But it was, so again, I want you to share about the ULP is unfair labor practice. Um,
What?
and so and so it's how we in a sense sue the district in what's called PERB, Public Employment Relations Board. It's where we sue the district when they have participated in something that violates our contract, labor law, or ed code.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, go on.
So, as a rep, right? We had an administrator that was extremely challenging to work with. was extremely toxic and harmful. And pretty much I can say was a huge bully. And so as a rep, I there was meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting. Um, and it just was really I mean, unlike anything that I've had ever seen before in my work as a rep. And so we knew we needed change. So what that looked like is everyone speaking to that, right? Everyone sort of being transparent about the fact that this was happening. So that's first and foremost. They named it, and then from there we were able to figure out and organize how to best approach it, right? So the first step was we reached out to that person's supervisor, right? So we escalated. And then when we were not able to get any resolution from that, we took it even further. We started to, um, you know, make more demands. We went to the board and spoke with them about the need to really change this person, or yeah, to really make a change in the position. I'm sorry, I'm still monitoring outside. Watch, we took a pause because I still hear folks. I don't want them to ring the doorbell again. But what can I say? And so it took collective effort. It took everyone being able to talk about their experience on paper and visibly share with district leadership the fact that they felt this person was too toxic and harmful, and was really affecting their ability to do their job as teachers. And so we took it one step further. We sent petition around. We got a vote of no confidence. We took that to the board. And so at each step, there was pushback. At each step, there were write-ups. At each step, there were side eyes and angry looks. And at each step, there was something to contend with, right? So there was pushback, which is what happens, right? And after a couple times of dealing with said pushback, uh, you kind of go, okay, well, this is a part of the process. This comes with the territory. And so we need to, again, to take it a step further, because we're not going to have this. So it took the risk, right, of getting pushback and maybe, not such a friendly response, you know what I mean, from that administrator. But I mean, how much does that matter, right? She was harmful. Um, she was a bully, and we don't need those people in leadership. We don't
No.
need those people affecting how we work with our students, ultimately affecting the kids and the families.
Yeah.
We don't need that. And so
No.
we made a commitment to get her out. And unfortunately, yes, I was retaliated against for that. I was transferred. I know that's the big word that people, hate to hear. I was transferred, so yes, that can happen. But for me, I mean, okay, I'm angry, but comes with the territory, and so then now I need to take it a step further. So it was about not giving up the fight. It was about making sure that the members who had elected me to help them, to rep them, to serve them, got what they needed. And at the end of it, I knew what was happening. I knew I had a system to support me. I knew it would take time, right? And I was angry along the way, so it's not
Oh
like,
yeah.
what I mean, it was a
Mhm. Mhm.
necessarily easy, but it was worth it. It was worth it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's not to say I didn't have my own feelings of, not necessarily fear. I've grown out of that, honestly. Um,
Yeah.
I've seen too
It's
much.
stress.
It's
It's
stress.
stress. It's
It's
stress.
anger, it is resentment, right? So a lot of
Mhm.
resentment, for the fact that I had to deal with this, because we should not
Right.
have had to deal with that at
Right.
length, and that's too much, but it was worth it.
Yes. Quick note, the you guys had to start by sitting and having a staff meeting with this
Oh, yes.
administrator and naming what
Meaning,
the frustrations and concerns were. And that is the first step, right? And
right.
that's
So,
generally the hardest.
right. So yes, let me be clear. We had to face the person, right? We could okay, so let me
Hmm.
be clear. We could not just complain and amongst each other, kind of leave it there. We had to address that person head on. Yes, and we did we had to set up a meeting. We had to put on the agenda our list of concerns. And I can tell you one of them was truth and transparency. This administrator could not tell the truth to save their life, and it was a problem. It was a
Yeah,
problem. It was really affecting the way we
right,
were able to work. So we had to put it on the agenda and make that person accountable, hold them accountable to what they were doing. And that took
right.
courage. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
And that and people think, "Oh, just send an email," right? And no, you have to sit face to face. And that
Mhm.
and if you're afraid or you want a guarantee that there won't be retaliation, that's not we can't, right? Um and so, we wish it were that way, right? But there are some steps that have to be taken.
Right.
Um so that leads us to our last point, right? Because we were talking about what does fighting really mean. And let me quickly answer that. I've seen fighting, like at your site, right? And we really took an organizing mindset with it when the issues were happening. And it was like, okay, y'all need to start documenting. And members started documenting. Then we had y'all at the union office to meet and to really discuss what were the frustrations and what were the contract violations, right? Because sometimes
Yes.
things that are toxic aren't necessarily a contract violation, right?
Yes.
So then we had to figure out, okay, what can we truly argue like as a contract violation, and then what also because culture is important, right? Community is important, and the feeling of a site is important. So that wasn't sort of left to the side. The toxic behavior was still very vital in the conversation, but we just sort of looked at the two, right, and how we can conquer both, right? And is that person still an administrator? No. So that and I will tell you, um, it took a little, almost 2 years, right,
Mhm.
from the beginning of the process to the ULP being the PERB coming back and saying the Public Employment Relations Board coming back and saying, yeah, that was a violation, and that was retaliation, and so it took time, right?
Right.
But I'm going to tell you right now that that site, even though you're not there anymore, they feel that they are strong and that they stand together because they saw the process. They
Mhm.
saw what it leads to. And yes, it led to retaliation and you were transferred, but they aren't afraid of that anymore,
Right.
right? Because they see what collective action means. So at that site, they are very strong
They're
at
very
this
strong.
moment,
Yeah.
right? And their current administrator understands this, right?
Right.
Um, and so that is where I would like all of us to be,
All of
right?
us. Yeah.
And that fighting, this whole having the protection of a labor union in California. There's other states that are right to work, and even doing any collective action is a violation of state law, right? We do have protections here, but what that means is that we have a way to rectify any harm. It doesn't
Mhm.
mean that we can necessarily stop it before it happens,
Yes.
right? And so that's what we need to realize is also even when we get a contract we want, great, but now we have to enforce it,
We
right?
have to
We have to
enforce
make
it.
sure the district is following it, right? And so that's the key to it is what is fighting? It's constantly fighting. And I know it's exhausting. Our district exhausts us on purpose. They separate us on purpose. Notice we haven't had any district-wide meetings that we used to have. We
Right.
have sites that teachers don't even get together and meet. In our secondary, I know elementary might be shocked, but we have some secondary schools where the principals actually keep the departments separate on purpose, right? To keep us separate so we don't build that community. And so They are keeping us tired. They are keeping, sort of the everything coming all at once so that we are too tired to fight. But we need to finally say, no, I am tired of being tired. And I am ready to actually put my energy into this fight because I know in the future, if I fight for better now, in the future, it'll be better for the kids, right? It doesn't do the kids any service for us to be tired and exhausted and working in a toxic work environment. It doesn't help anyone. And we really have to realize that, like, just constantly being yes people to the district, even with harmful things or toxic things, that doesn't do our students any service. It's better for us to fight for what's best for them. And I want
Right.
to take that to, did you have something else you wanted to say on that, or?
Well, yeah, I was going to just emphasize that fact that it can't be both. It can't be both. If you are fed up, you have to do something to change it. It is not going to change itself. You have to, it can't be both. So I was sharing a little bit about kind of my idea of what's really going on in the district. This was last week. And I said we have an extreme amount of anger at our conditions, but then we also have an extreme amount of fear and apprehension. Um,
Mhm.
with regard to willingness to step up, and it can't be both. And so no matter how much, like we're talking right now, we're trying to sort out, and share information with our members and kind of talk through our own experiences as leaders. But as complex as some things can get, that part of it is really simple. It takes what it takes, and it can't be both. If you're not
Right.
willing to step up and face your fears, use the system, use that vehicle, right, to make change, use the system to help remedy any harm. We can't protect
Yeah.
you from retaliation, but we can help you uh,
Yeah.
fix it
Yeah.
without. I mean, that part is simple. It really is
Yeah.
simple. But
And when I've heard so many great ideas as president and even as organizing chair and as now VP, that members text me or talk to me, why can't we try this? And I'm like, that's great. You want to lead it? You know
mhm,
what I mean? Because
mhm,
there's already so much that we're doing. We need members to participate, to get active. You have a good idea, we're going to ask you to do it.
yep,
We're going to give you support. We're going to show you where to, and we're help you along the way, but you need to do it, right? And that's the thing, is like, we don't have other people. You have 8 executive board members who are still working full time, with the exception of Lowe, that has 1 day a week, right?
right,
That she can do things. And she's supposed to be on sites talking to members.
yeah,
And so it's like, and then we have an organizing committee of about 5 people. Then we have our rep council. At about half of our rep council is regular and good
right,
at being there and stuff. And so you don't have a lot of people doing the work. And so we really need people willing to do the work, willing to be on committees, willing to do the small things, because the small things are important.
the
And
small
it's the
thing,
small things that aren't getting done, that would help us build, because we don't power, right? And so we really need our membership to get active, get involved, right? And so that's a huge piece. That leads us to our past and history, right? Our current history. I'm going to start off. I just want to start by saying this. As a teacher in Compton since 2008, like I said previous, I have never seen even a simple majority show up to an action or participate in an action. And that is 51% of our members. I haven't even seen that, right? I have seen sites that had that, but not district wide. And so that leads me to a huge thing is, we have a lot of veterans who are towards retirement age that remember striking with Compton in the 90s. And that's awesome because we hear it. We used to do this. We used to do that. Great. We don't have that right now. And we have to go with what we have. And, and I have faith in our teachers. If they truly understood that it took them acting, them participating, them being part of, that if they truly internalize that, they would show up.
Mhm.
And that is a huge thing is since 2008, we haven't even gotten a simple majority.
Right.
We need members showing up.
Mhm.
There's no other ifs, ands, or buts. I understand we have some members that it takes 2, 3 hours to drive home, right?
Right.
If they don't get on the freeway right away, it might mean a 1.5 hour commute to a 3 hour commute. Well, I'm sorry, but that's what it means. If your
Yes. It,
contract is important to you, then one day a month you'll do that,
mhm.
right? Um, I understand we have some teachers that take care of kids as well as parents. Find someone to help you for one
Mhm.
day, right?
Very
We even have people who bring their kids,
right.
that go get their kids and show up with their kids, right? Um, we have to stop with the excuses. And historically, we've had excuses, at least in my history since 2008. The leadership since 2008 have been working hard. You may not think they have because you may not realize what is happening and what's being done. But your leadership has been working hard. So it's not the leadership that's not working, it's the members who aren't showing up.
Right.
And you as members need to show up.
Right.
there's there's no other way around that. And so do you want to say with your history, your recent history,
So the
what you've
recent
seen?
history since I've been here and since 2006. And again, there was a stark shift in the culture and the feel of CUSD. So that is one thing I do want to acknowledge, even though I know that our uh, union leadership at the time, you know what I mean, they were doing good work. I know that the union leadership that I had at Compton High at the time were phenomenal. It was not this that we're fighting that I would say that has been in the last decade, right? So for me, there is a stark difference in the feel of my
Mm-hmm.
my,
Mm-hmm.
my working conditions. So again, we work in public school, public or an urban school setting. Um, so it's busy, it's spirited, it has its challenges, right? Inherently there, but I felt an ease about my actual work in terms of the organization that I worked for a long time. And then I didn't. And then I
Mm-hmm.
did. And then I
Mm-hmm.
didn't. And then things
Mm-hmm.
changed and I was like, well, what
Yep.
is it? You know what I mean? And then I look
Yeah.
up, it's like, oh, so I didn't feel afraid of admins or anyone else, when I first started teaching. I felt comfortable with them. They were helpful, you know what I mean? If I felt that I was heard, I felt that if I had an idea or I needed something, even if it wasn't perfect, there was an attempt to do right, right? I don't
Right.
feel that way. I haven't felt that way in a long time. And so for me, I do understand for people that have been in the district a long time, there has been a shift. But to your point, as the shift happened, and or when the and as we needed to do more, and as we needed to be, um, you know, uh, better at stepping up and making demands and saying, "Hey," like you said, I haven't seen the simple majority. I haven't seen the effort on our part as an organization, as an association, to really push, right, to make things better than they have been in this last decade. And so I know I love my colleagues. I love our educators in CUSD.
Yes.
For those who have been here,
Yes.
I remember the feel of it. And I would not be here for that love, because let's look right now what our neighbors and what they make in salary. It's not the pay, right? It is the community. It is the students. It's the families. I love us, but
Yes.
we have to do better. Like, this is insane. And we have to, be the change that we want to
Yeah.
see. We have to do it. That if they didn't get
Yes.
the first 2 years and the second 2 years, and in good faith, the 6 years in good faith, then that means that there is no good faith to just hand you what they know you need, and to do what they know would be better for the student, for the teachers, and for the students. We got to talk educators and how that lends to our students, right? So, but I haven't seen it. That means it's not happening, and that means that there's no interest in making it happen. So that we have to step up and demand it, and have the expectation. We know, and that's the thing. We know that they know. You know what I mean? What's right and wrong and better, and
Yeah.
we know. So we don't we can skip that step. I know you know what's needed, so I'm going to put the
Yeah.
pressure to do that, right?
Yes.
I don't.
Yes.
It's not. It's less about convincing and more about showing the strength that it takes to make the demand,
Yeah.
right? So that's a little bit of the history as I see it, is that great shift. And that, leads back to what we're talking about, what's needed to change it, right? To make that it better than what it has been.
So I want to sort of also, like, because I've, done with my term as president. And I truly believe at looking realistically at the past and owning errors. And as the past president, looking back, one of the things I really tried to do was bring us together, because
Mhm.
there was a lot of separation, especially with a recall and things like that. Like
Right.
I felt like there were pieces that we needed to put back together. And I feel that I didn't push people enough. And I would say if there was anything I could do differently as president, I would be pushing people more.
Mhm.
Less of, I understand, yeah, I get it. We all have things to do, and more of, if it's important, you'll do it,
Right.
right? And I think that is a shift I've had to make. And so if for me, if there was anything I feel I erred in my 3 years, was that I I'm an empath. I feel people's, frustrations and stuff like that. And so I want to, as a mom, I want to hug. As a teacher, I want to hug. I want to say it'll be okay, right?
Right.
But that's not what we can do with union work. And so I feel I did too much of that hugging.
Mhm.
And I carried too many people instead of pushing them to walk themselves. And I feel like that was my big error. You just started, so I'm definitely not going to ask you that. Um,
I got
but
some
I
things
do want to
going.
say that like I feel like, as we've been trying to be too nice to each other in a sense, and not holding each other as union members accountable. And we need to hold each other accountable, and we really need to be asking people, why didn't you show up? I didn't see you at the mediation rally. I didn't
Right.
see you at the school board. What's going on? How can I help you get there? Because we
Right.
all need to show up, right?
Right.
And it's not out of meanness. I'm not trying to be mean. I want a better contract. I want a better working environment.
Right.
I want seniority to be moved up when it comes to involuntary transfers. I want hard caps for our special ed teachers, because that means they can do their job better, and that would help me, right?
Right.
Um, I want specific things. I want our elementary school teachers to have
That's what
autonomous
I'm
prep time,
saying. Yes. Exactly.
because I understand if they get autonomous prep time, they are doing better in the classroom,
Right.
right? And then that leads to my secondary kids having a better, it's not that teachers aren't doing their jobs. We're doing our jobs with very little,
Very
and it is
little.
very difficult. And no one can pull miracles out, right?
Right.
And these are the basic things that I know if our elementary school teachers had, it would be better for me as a secondary teacher, right?
Right.
We are all in this together. And I think that's the point, is like, sometimes other people are going to get, I might not get this time. Right. But I understand it's helping the collective, and it makes it all better.
All
Right.
better.
And so I think that's for me is really just how I want to change things is really push members to really think about for them, have you been involved? Have
Right.
you been showing up?
It
Have
should be.
you helped?
Right.
Um, if you haven't, really sit with that. You're
Right.
going to get the contract you fight for,
Yeah, absolutely.
right? And if a majority of our members aren't fighting,
And you're going to
you
get,
know,
yeah.
it, yep. And I wish there was a way to get a contract for those who are fighting.
I
um,
know.
you know, because we have about 20% of our members that really
And
show up,
consistent.
at least to actions. We would like more help in committees and things like
Right.
that, but we at least have 20% that show up to actions. And so,
And
to
can we
those
take a minute?
20%,
Go
yeah,
ahead. I was going to say, can we take a minute to really celebrate those people and acknowledge them because there's a lot of
yes,
feedback that they give too about the fact that they're always the ones, and it's so true.
yep,
20% of the people
yes,
are carrying the load for 900 folks, and it gets exhausting for them. And I do understand when they say, I'm always here. And I get it. And we need to appreciate those folks because
yes,
it's the
yes,
work
yes,
for
yes,
them. And so if you know those people, if those people are in your space and you know that they're always the one nudging you to come on, and you see them at board meetings, at rallies, at the union office, sending emails asking for, you need to give them a thank you because that's a heavy burden for 20% of the people to do the work, of a 900 person membership. And so I did
yes,
want to share that and acknowledge
yeah,
uh, folks too that do show up and consistently and continually put up a fight, because that's
right,
huge. And every this is
yes,
why. So everyone needs to be accountable. You cannot expect and you cannot expect, and human nature. People do. They come to resent that. They come to resent every time we're at the situation we're in now with mediation, and they look up and they go to their work sites, and again they didn't see you standing to their left or to their right.
yeah,
So we do need to be accountable. We need to be, if we wouldn't be fighting so hard or attempting to fight if it wasn't worth it. So understand your worth as an
yeah,
educator in CUNC,
yes,
and step up, right? So
right,
we do need to be just a lot firmer. And I think it was
yeah,
you that first highlighted for me, and again, having gone through some training about being um, an an organization, or I'm sorry,
an organizing union.
or organizing unit, excuse me, versus a service focused union, right?
Uh-huh.
So that's the verbiage they use, right?
Yeah,
Service
yeah,
oriented
yeah,
versus, yeah. So people are of service, but the organized model is the most effective, right? So it's are you a
yeah,
warrior, or um
yeah,
sort of, and I just, even though, like, you, to your point, I'm quiet because I'm listening, and I need to listen to get the information and be informed on how to best move. But I am a warrior. I'm not
yes,
passive.
yes, you are.
I don't I don't believe in that. I do not believe in it. If people
No,
ask me, I'm an empath too, and I'll give you a hug and I'll listen and I can understand, but it's still on you to do what you need to do. That's
yeah,
just the bottom line. You still need to do what
and
you need to do.
yeah, and even though we get along like this, we've had arguments.
Yes,
We've
yes, we
disagreed.
have.
And I think it's we can disagree, and that
Yeah,
is okay. But it is we have to move. And there are currently um you currently have about 20 people, 20, not 200, doing the physical work, and
physical,
then
yes,
you have 200 who show up to actions. We need to change that. We need 600 to show up to actions, and
yes,
we need 200 people helping with the work, right? And so there is definitely movement we need to have. And thank you to the members that show up, because
yes,
we see you.
yes,
We see you. And my ask of you, you're showing up. My ask of you is really holding your fellow members accountable
Accountable.
and going, I didn't see you. Where were you?
Right.
Right? I didn't see you. Where were you? And really telling them April 20th, y'all better be there.
We do. And
Like,
and for those people, because we do, I have some that I get, and I see the feedback from, which is fair because we're all in membership together. But if I haven't seen you come out and be a part of the work, you know what I mean? Everybody got
yeah,
opinions. So come
yes,
put some action behind your opinion. Okay?
yes,
Let me just
yes.
be clear.
Put, right. And if you have opinions, get involved.
Hmm.
Right? Because here's the thing, Lo and I have opinions and we disagree.
Yep.
And
And we
that is
talk about them.
okay.
Yep. We hash
Show
it out.
up,
Yep.
right? Show up. We have reps that come, show up and disagree. And we have conversations and we figure it out.
Figure it
That's the
out.
thing is like, is the complaints on the side. We get it. We're not perfect. I'm not perfect.
Hmm.
Um, but we're doing the work. Join us, do the work, right? And
Hmm.
I think that's key. April 20th, we better see our members in
Yep.
front of the school board. April 20th, if not school
For in
board,
front of the
sorry.
district.
April 20th
Yep.
is our next mediation date.
Mediation.
From 3 or from the moment you get out of school,
Mhm.
head over to the union office. And then we will be walking over, or people will already be in front of the district office. So you don't really have to go to the union office first, but if they're still parking there, go for it.
Okay.
But we are going to be at the district room. If y'all
Yes.
aren't showing up,
We
they can make demands, but the district doesn't have to listen. The district
right.
doesn't have to listen until y'all show up.
Right.
So show up. And then do you want to say any last thing before we sign off? Because
Um,
again, it is our spring break and we
yeah,
are doing union
we
work
do.
on the
We do.
first day of spring break.
Right. So yes, I want to say last thing. Again, if you all were not worth it, we wouldn't be here fighting. So just know that. Know that any real talk is based out of is rooted in love and appreciation
Yep.
for the profession. And again, this is hard work. And Chris and I have been working together for a long time. With this on organizing and on PAC. So we are committed, as well as your e-board. Your e-board. They are bargaining. All the people, you know what I mean, are committed to you. So we're asking you guys to make a change, make a shift, show up on this next mediation date, and we need to continue the momentum. Please understand that the work does not stop. Please look at the messaging that goes out. I will be providing and sharing in detail, especially looking at so many actions that are taking place across the state. Really doing that education piece. Please pay attention, get educated about the work and the process, and let's be better. Let's be better. Let's be strong. And
Yes.
that's the last thing I want to
Yes.
say. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Yes,
Yep.
let's be
Thank
strong
you.
and we are worth it. And for those of you who don't hear Lo, when she says she's not saying it's hard work, she's saying it's heart. It's our
Heart.
heart.
It's hard work.
Heart,
Yes.
right? The hard T at the end, heart.
Oh,
It is
yes.
our heart. As teachers, we lead with our heart, and we must lead with our heart in union work, and we must put that out there. And so, yes, see y'all April 20th.
Yeah.
And we also have a town hall
April
um,
16th
April 16th.
at 4.
And we can have up to 500 people on our Zoom. And so please make sure that you're there. That's over
Yes.
half. And let's have the conversations because we can't do the work without the conversations.
Right.
So appreciate you
Appreciate you. Thank you. Or you
and
appreciate
go
them.
enjoy. Yes, go enjoy your spring break. Let me end this recording. Bye, members.
Bye.